Let me open up the right chat. Okay, we're here, back. I was getting a bite to eat real quick too. Okay. Okay, so we have I set myself the links. There it is. Okay, so what we can do is we'll watch some of these short clips of previous stories in Pasadena just to pass some time. I think we have, let's see, we have enough time to watch the clips, maybe do a recap. I mean, they might recap it themselves. This is from 4 years ago, different story, but it says search for man who grabbed the 11-year-old girl in Pasadena.
This evening, police in Pasadena looking for a man they say tried to abduct an 11-year-old girl as she was walking her dog. We're going to show you a map here. It happened on Willow Oak Circle near Strawberry Road at Southmore. Channel 2's Joel Eisenbaum joining us live from Pasadena with what police and the victim's family are saying about what happened. Joel?
Bill, I'll tell you what, this really is a harrowing tale, but it has a happy ending, and that is thanks to this girl's dog. More precisely, her beagle mix named Ray. Inside this Pasadena townhome community called Willow Oaks, a scary encounter Sunday morning.
She spotted a man that was looking at her really weird.
For this 11-year-old girl whose identity we're protecting, it was about to get a lot worse.
The driver actually catches up onto her, gets out the vehicle, and, grabs her.
Now struggling for her life, it was the girl's 15-pound beagle mix named Ray who saved the day.
The dog was like, this is not any regular person, greeting her or something. So, yeah, he went for a bite in the leg, and that was the only way for her to free herself.
Surveillance cameras caught the would-be child abductor leaving the complex Sunday about 9:30. The girls sprinted home. The girl's uncle took it from there.
The gentleman who lives in the house went racing up the block like an Olympic runner.
He didn't quite catch up, but the camera shots should do. At Pasadena PD's request, we're not yet revealing the crystal clear shots of the suspect or the license plate.
It happens quick. They know what they're looking for. And how I said, we just really got to keep a close eye on the little ones.
Close calls don't get much closer than that.
There's another story too. Pasadena stories. And this is another one. It's like an 11-year-old. Oh, is this Pasadena? There's somewhere in Deer Park over there in Texas. Let's see. 11-year-old describes possible abduction attempt in Deer Park.
The 11-year-old victim of a possible kidnapping attempt says a man told her not to tell anyone. She's one of 3 young girls police say the man approached this week. He allegedly pulled a gun on one of them. Jason Miles is live from Deer Park, where he spoke with the 11-year-old and her mom.
Yeah, Jason, it sounds like that little girl did everything right.
That's right, guys. She didn't go near this man's car. She called her mom on the phone immediately, even went to a neighbor's home for help. Now she and her mother hope police figure out who this man is. In order to help ensure her identity is protected,
I noticed a car and he pulled up right beside me.
We blurred the face of the 11-year-old girl seen in this surveillance video released by Deer Park police, in which a man in a dark-colored sedan creeped up along the sidewalk as she walked to school. She tells me he asked for directions to a community center.
And I told him, hey, I don't know what that is. I don't know where it is. I'm just trying to get to school. And he said, okay, and he left.
But she says he was back in the time it takes to circle the block after she called her mom concerned about what happened.
When he came back and he saw me on my phone, then he started yelling at me to put it away. And he said, not to report him and not to call anyone.
You can see him back up and leave as she runs to a neighbor's house for help, like her mother suggested.
I know it's controversial for young kids to have cell phones, but in this instance, I'm very glad that she had a cell phone, and I'm glad that she walked put distance between herself and the car instead of ever going closer.
The man spotted in Deer Park is believed to be the same man in this surveillance video taken in nearby Pasadena, suspected of approaching 2 different girls on Monday morning as well, one of whom claims the man pulled out a gun when she refused to comply with his commands.
I don't want to hear a story on the news tomorrow about someone being abducted or, you know, hurt or anything like that by the same guys.
That's why they decided to share their story about a routine walk to school that was interrupted.
You hear the stories and like it's just crazy when it actually happens to you.
And police believe that dark-colored sedan is a Honda Civic with black rims and a sunroof. There's only a vague description of the man himself. You can read more about that on khou.com. Meantime,
another story out there from I don't know if that's Pasadena or not. There's another one too. This one was 4 years ago. Oh, this is the same one, the dog. Oh, they arrested the guy though. Damn, this guy. Woo. Jeez. That's the one with the dog. They actually caught this guy.
And tried taking me. It was just like heart dropping.
The child was visiting her sister's Pasadena townhome on Willow Oak Circle when she says Perez tried to drag her into his SUV.
She was crying. She was in tears.
She says she couldn't scream and only got away when her beagle mix, Ray, attacked.
He bit his left leg, and that's how whenever she got to like get away from him and come back home.
The family called police, then found the suspect on the townhome surveillance camera. They shared it online, asking for leads. Court documents show Perez went to police shortly after, referencing the online photos, wanting to clear his name. But
this guy literally went to go clear his name when he's involved?
His story didn't add up.
All right, Raul Perez.
He was arrested last night.
He's got an extensive history out of Brownsville.
His criminal history includes aggravated assault, burglary of a motor vehicle, and a DWI. The family says although they're not sure what his intentions were with the 11-year-old.
Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of people that do many things with children.
They know their dog Ray is a hero.
We really are grateful that her dog was with her. Because I swear that right now, if her dog was not with her, she would not be home.
Perez has been charged with attempted kidnapping. His bond has...
Let me see. Back in court. All right, they should be getting started with this presser any minute now. Oh, there's another one. 10 months ago, woman found dead in Houston was kidnapped.
Got UV with
shit going on out there. All right, let me see.
In our other headlines today, Crime Stoppers is offering a reward to help the person who killed an 11-year-old girl in Pasadena.
Just a horrible crime. Maria Gonzalez was sexually assaulted and killed inside her home on Saturday. Anayeli Ruiz joins us live from Main Street near Southmore.
Audio's off
with
again.
The very latest on this horrible case. Anayeli.
Well, that's right. Crime Stoppers Houston told me they reached out to Pasadena Police Department hoping to offer a $5,000 reward. They want this to be an incentive. Hopefully someone can come forward with information and they can find Maria's killer. Residents at this small apartment complex in Pasadena are still shaken.
Mad and sad. Wanted to cry because I seen her.
This after 11-year-old Maria Gonzalez was found dead on Saturday morning.
Here we go.
Her father had left for work at around 9:45 a.m. Investigators say shortly after Maria sent her father.
About to get started. Okay. Yeah, they're telling me the audio's out of sync. I don't know. I guess we didn't fix the issue. I don't know. I guess I have to restart it before every live stream, maybe. They have a picture for the. I don't know what's their reasoning, like how they came to believe that this guy is a suspect. I don't know if they got a DNA match. I don't know if it was just a neighbor that said, "Hey, this guy left the area," because they're saying this guy, after the murder of this girl, left the area. So I don't know if it's just because of that. They actually match any kind of DNA. I can't do that. Can you pause? Can you get the video? You show a 5-second pause before you end them. Oh, is it? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Is that everybody? That's everybody? Yep. Mic check 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Spanish? Roll. Hola. Mine didn't. Joe, are we ready? Everybody's good. All right, we'll go and get started. My name is Josh Brugger, last name Bruegger. I'm the police chief here in the city of Pasadena. Here today to provide an update on the murder homicide that we had last Saturday of 11-year-old Maria Gonzalez at 1004 Main, apartment number 24. There's obviously been a lot that's happened this past week as we've been working this case. Before I get started, I'd be remiss not to recognize all the investigators and the officers that made the scene. As you can imagine, cases like this, especially involving children, not only is it traumatic for the victim and their family, it can also be hard on the first responders as well. And they have worked their tails off this week to get us to the point that we're at right now. A couple things I just want to touch on. There's been a lot of talk this week about the maintenance folks out there, whether they've been cooperative, not cooperative, suspects, things like that. I just want to clear that up real quick and just say that the maintenance staff out there has been cooperative. At this point, there is no reason to believe that any of them have been involved. And as you all know, we've kind of gone a different direction with a person of interest. As investigators were processing the crime scene last Saturday, one thing they found was a key in the apartment. That key has been crucial in helping us move this case forward. The investigators, after processing the key, found out that the key did not go to the victim's apartment, and so started checking other apartments, and we found that it opened another apartment there in the apartment complex. As the first responders made the scene on Saturday, and the investigators followed them up, and they began interviewing neighbors in the apartment complex, other witnesses, and as part of that was the interview here of the person of interest. And this image that we're releasing today is a still image from our department's body camera system. So that's what he looked like Saturday when investigators contacted him. So that is a recent photo and what he looked like when they contacted him.
Well, they spoke with him. What?
It's been a struggle this week. Any investigation we try to limit what we release to an extent, but also keep the public informed because we want to hold some stuff back for investigative reasons. As it happens every time, beyond our control, information gets released that we don't release. And so that's why I want to try to clear up anything that's out there. The victim was found in a trash bag in a clothes hamper under the bed. We had initially held that back, but that got out outside the organization. And so I just want to confirm that that is accurate. She was. We have turned over quite a bit of evidence to the Institute of Forensic Sciences in Harris County, which processes all the DNA evidence. And so they've got that. I will say we have a DNA sample from our person of interest on Saturday when investigators were out there as part of the investigation. So we do have something to compare to. So at this point, we're waiting on DNA to come back. No arrests have been made. This 18-year-old Juan Carlos Garcia Rodriguez is a person of interest. He was living there in the apartment complex. He was last seen in the apartment complex at 4 p.m. Monday. His whereabouts are not known. We've been asked several times over the last 24 hours if we had concerns that he was fleeing to Mexico. I don't have any information that he is fleeing to Mexico. He is Guatemalan, so his whereabouts are unknown. That's what we're asking for the public's help. I think there's, a chance somebody knows where he's at, and if they do, we're asking that they reach out to us, either the department or Crime Stoppers, which is offering a reward for information that leads to his arrest. And I'm going to let Andy Kahn, Crime Stoppers, come up here in a few minutes and talk. But our investigators, armed with new information, would like to talk to him again to try to get more information. And that's where we're at right now, and I will take any questions that you might have.
So the key, did it go to the apartment that he was staying in?
Correct, it did. Yes.
Well, can you tell me about investigators' conversations with him a few days ago?
He didn't have a lot of information, just that, he lived in the complex, was familiar, but nothing really at the time, nothing that, stood out at the time. Investigators went back out there a couple days later to talk to some other people that also live in that apartment. I say evasive with investigators, didn't necessarily pay attention to the investigators when they were out there and they were talking to the other roommates. That's what I can tell you about.
How many other roommates?
There's 2 other roommates.
Are they family members or who was he living with?
He did not, he'd only been there 3 or 4 weeks. Try to keep it, easy for you. They're all from Guatemala, and so it was a connection of, hey, I got a friend that needs somewhere to stay. And so he was living with these folks for 3 to 4 weeks. They didn't really know him that well because, again, it was somebody asking if he could stay with them. And so, they worked during the daytime, kind of went their own ways and did their own thing.
You guys have a DNA sample of him?
We do.
Does he have any kind of vehicle? Or?
Not to our knowledge, he doesn't. At this point, everything we know, he's been picked up and taken places by people. So somebody knows where he's at.
Did he say that he knew the victim? Did he admit in at any point?
I don't want to talk about that right now.
We don't know if they crossed paths or anything like that.
They lived in the same area, is all I'm going to say. The apartments are pretty close to each other, so he could have seen her if they were, if she was outside at the same time he was outside because they're that close to each other.
In terms of timeline, whenever you guys got that key and figured out it went to the apartment he was staying at, can you give me a timeline of when that happened compared to when you guys spoke to him?
It was after he had already left on Monday.
When the DNA sample was taken, was he a person of interest then?
He wasn't. So as the investigation goes on, oftentimes the investigators will, if people are, voluntarily, give it to, especially people that are in the area, because one of the things that's important is, that we be able to eliminate people just as, somebody's DNA where it shouldn't be. So it's important that we were able to exclude people as well.
I'm sorry, can you just clarify on that timeline? When did you bring on the key to that apartment?
It was after he left on, it's been the last couple days.
Okay, do you know approximately the day?
I don't know, no. I just know it was after he left on Monday.
So he wasn't on the camera surveillance, we didn't believe he was a person of interest?
At that point, we had a wide net at that point. So at that point, he was not a person of interest, not any more than anybody else that lives in the complex.
Given that he's been, he could have moved the last few days, is his picture now out with other law enforcement agencies? Have you guys
Yeah, yes, and we've also, if he were to cross the border, we've asked to be notified as well. So.
Was this DNA found on the key?
They have not processed that yet.
But, and I have to ask about the key. When you found the key, how long did it take you to go try it out?
It was a couple days later, just as part of processing the evidence. I can't tell you exactly when, but as part of processing the evidence, I'm not sure exactly when that was done.
Would that mean that every single door was tested, or just if I take it?
We didn't have to get very far. I'll just
Damn,
say
so it was like next door, 2 doors?
What kind of a criminal history does he have?
As far as we know in the United States, he does not have a criminal history.
Would you consider him dangerous?
Absolutely.
How long has he been in the U.S. for? Where else has he been?
He's from Guatemala. I know that Customs and Border Protection encountered him back in January out in the El Paso area. Is the last that I know of. I don't know of any other contacts that they might have had with him, but that's the last one that I know of. I don't know his route here. I just know that back in January he was apprehended by CBP. No, they don't. To my knowledge, they do not know each other.
You describe him as dangerous, but he's described also as a person of interest at this point, not a suspect.
Right.
What's keeping you from using that other word?
A little bit more evidence. I tell you, we're pretty close, but not quite there yet. Because if he was a suspect, we'd be at the DA's office getting a warrant. So.
Why is he considered a person of interest based on the evidence that
Without going into too much of the evidence, the key is really one of the key pieces, plus some of the other witness statements that we have as far as his location and his whereabouts. The other 2 roommates still have their keys. They tried to get the key back from him when he left, and he said, "No, I'm gonna hang on to it."
Oh, that's sus. That is sus.
There was the key to that apartment in the victim's apartment.
So he told his roommates he was leaving town?
Hey, my understanding, he just said, "I'm leaving, going to do work somewhere else."
As a person of interest, can he be arrested?
He cannot, for this offense, he cannot be arrested because there's no warrant for him. But we really want to talk to him.
So you're waiting for the DNA?
Correct. Potentially or other evidence. I mean, there's still witnesses we're working through talking to try. We're obviously trying to move as fast as we can, but also there's a legal process that we got to follow, and so we may get there, may get to a probable cause level before DNA. It's just going to depend on tracking down some more witnesses and trying to confirm some more information.
So you waited a couple of days to go public with this. The day that you did was the day when you skipped town. Is that
all comes down really?
Catalyst was, her autopsy wasn't done until Monday. And so once we had that information to know more of what happened and to be able to be informed when I come, give information, that's why we released it on Tuesday.
So he was one of how many people that were interviewed on Saturday?
There's a bunch. You got family members, you've got, family members, you got other neighbors. And so, there's at least 10 people that were interviewed as part of it.
But the DNA samples were taken an approximate amount of people?
I don't know the number. I don't know. To my knowledge, everybody that we've talked to so far has been cooperative. So I'm going to say somewhere in that, yes. His roommates have been very cooperative, yes.
Is he here legally in the United States?
I believe he is not here legally.
And he might have been here 3 to 4 months in Houston, not in the United States, right?
My understanding is he was in Pasadena for about 3 to 4 weeks before he left on this week. Before that, he was in Louisiana. My understanding, when he was released by immigration, he was released to some sponsors in Louisiana. And when he was there, they're the ones who reached out to some connection that they had here about him coming here for work and needing a place to stay.
The El Paso encounter, do you know when that happened?
January. I don't know the exact date, but in January sometime.
You mentioned work. What does he do?
Day labor, a variety of different things. Baton Rouge area.
Have you guys made contact with the sponsors?
We have not yet, no.
What is age earlier? Did you say 18?
He is 18 years old, that's correct.
We spoke to the mother today, Maria's mother
Mhm.
in Guatemala, and she obviously was very distraught and asked her what her message to the public here was, and she was begging everyone in law enforcement from Pasadena to upper federal government agencies
Right.
to do everything they can to find whoever did this. What would be your message to her?
My message is we're doing everything we absolutely can to bring whoever this is to justice, to answer for this. This is a horrific crime. We're leaving no stone unturned. The men and women in the back have been working tirelessly all week because this case is important to us.
So how many days more to get the results of DNA?
That's going to depend on the Institute of Forensic Sciences. I don't have an answer for you on that. They know the facts of this case. They know the urgency of this case, but I also know Harris County is a large county with, a lot of stuff going on, and so, we'll see. But I do know this is a priority for them.
Are you asking any other agencies, U.S. Marshals, anybody to try to see if this guy is already in Mexico like you?
We have reached out to our federal partners. He is flagged with DHS, so we will know if he crosses the border. They will alert us if he crosses.
And if he were to attempt to cross, there's nothing to stop them from letting him do so? Or
Depends on... I don't know about federal immigration because he is in the country illegally, that they could possibly detain him on that. But as far as detaining for this offense, that's correct. At this point, no. And like I said, we're working hard to.
But there's a search. That was my question. There's a search for him from other agencies.
Yes.
So they can't arrest him, but yes.
Time at the apartment, do you know where he stayed?
He was in Baton Rouge, is my understanding, with whoever the sponsors were when he was released from immigration, and then he came from there directly to here, is my understanding.
What part of Guatemala is he from? Do you know? Is it from where?
I don't know the answer to that. The sense I'll tell you just from talking to the investigators in the complex up there, there seems to be a connection. Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody from Guatemala, and so they are a tight-knit community.
We don't think he knew the Gonzalez was in Texas.
To my knowledge, no. Anything else? Well, I'm going to invite Andy Kahn with Crime Stoppers to come up and.
Thank you. I'm also going to ask April Aguirre, who's been doing incredible work volunteering for us.
What's up?
My name's Andy Kahn. I'm the Director of Victim Services for Crime Stoppers of Houston. And first and foremost, on behalf of Crime Stoppers, our hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to Maria's family. I've been doing this a long time, over 3 decades, and there's certain cases that do stand out. And anytime a young girl, an 11-year-old girl, is sexually assaulted and then murdered, it kind of brings back a lot of bad memories of other cases as well. Right now, Crime Stoppers is offering an up to a $5,000 reward for any information leading up to the arrest of the suspect responsible for the absolutely cold-blooded, horrific murder of 11-year-old Maria Gonzalez. We are asking the public to step up to the plate and do the right thing. Crime Stoppers is anonymous, and I do want to stress that. Anybody who reaches out and contacts us and provides information leading up to the arrest and identification of the suspect responsible is anonymous. We do not care about your immigration status, your residency. No one is going to ask any questions, nor are they going to know your identification. You can contact us at 713-222-TIPS. You can submit a tip online, www.crime-stoppers.org. And even better, we have a mobile app available in over 20 languages. As a board member of the Houston chapter of Parents of Murdered Children and Surviving Family Members of Homicide, and have been working with homicide survivors now for over 30 years, I can unequivocally tell you that grief is intensified when justice is lacking. And sadly, right now, justice is lacking for Maria and her family. And we know somebody out there knows who committed this incredibly horrific, evil, heinous murder. And it's time for you to clear your conscience and get in touch with us, and you may be eligible for an up to a $5,000 reward. And I'm going to ask April to come up here and do the Spanish version for me.
Okay.
Buenas tardes. Hoy día estamos aquí.
We'll look at the
unidos.
Spanish part. Really, I don't know, crazy updates. As far as, I mean, there is a border issue for sure. That's without a doubt. And Texas has like huge problems for sure. I mean, I guess that's a conversation for another time. I mean, because I'd have to research and stuff. But I've always felt like that. So I've always felt our borders need to be more secure. I've always had that sentiment for a very long time. It's a mess. It's like ridiculous. So as far as this 11-year-old girl and in that community, okay, it's a small community, or it's a small complex, I should say, apartment complex, I guess. We know from last night, the article that I was reading, I think the father and the daughter had moved in there. They've been there, living there around 3 months. Something like that. This guy, this person of interest, so I got to pull up his name again. He's only been living there 3 to 4 weeks. He was staying with roommates. I'm like, yo, you got to be ballsy as shit to pull this off. Living with other people, you step out. Oh, and that's if you're involved. We don't know, right? Allegedly, person of interest. He hasn't been named a suspect yet. And they're waiting for DNA still being processed. So I think they even said they can't arrest him if they find him. They just want to talk to him. So what if he says, I don't want to talk? I guess until they have this DNA to line it up and match it up. And the other thing that was damning, because when I heard that they found the key to where this guy stayed, I'm thinking, okay, what if it belongs to one of the other roommates? The fact that this guy got up there and said, no, the other roommates had their own keys, and the only one that didn't have a key was this guy that's a person of interest. And when he was leaving and they asked him for the key back, he's like, nah, I'm just going to take this shit. You know? Hello? Okay. All right, thanks. Yeah, and they say the daughter, too, was just visiting. She was supposed to go back in 2 months. That's the other thing I heard. Okay, come
back. I have one, and sorry I was late on this time, but for either of you guys, do you know, I know that this person of interest crossed illegally into the U.S. Around January. He was due for some sort of court date at some point, but he was given a sponsor, I believe, that lives in Louisiana. Do you know what kind of criminal background check was given by the federal government on this person of interest when he got into the U.S.?
I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to ask probably Customs and Border Protection on that.
Does he have a criminal history in Guatemala?
Not that I know of yet, but getting information from the Guatemalan government has been a little bit of a challenge that we've been trying to work through.
Someone in the chat claiming they live over there.
Muy buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Raúl Granados, sargento del Departamento de Policía de Pasadena. Hoy en este día, primero que nada, nos unimos en el dolor de la familia González y de todos aquellos que han sido afectados por esta tragedia. Para una comunidad, el hecho de que una niña de 11 años haya sido brutalmente...
I don't know if they're starting it over in Spanish. We'll wait for him to go. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. And they're saying this guy lived pretty close by, because at one point to the reporter's like, well, how long did you have to search? How did you try all the apartments? And he said something like, well, let's just say I didn't have to try much. Like, we didn't have to go very far. So I'm wondering if this guy's like next door to them or like right across from them so he can see them. And to be there only 3 to 4 weeks. Let me tell you, I was telling my friend a story on the phone this morning. One of the places that I used to live in years and years ago, back when I was with my daughter's mother and I was working graveyard shift and I used to work at the hospital. And so I used to have to leave them there at night. Let me see. I might have to.
Informado nuestro público.
One time I was walking in from working graveyard and there's this neighbor. I had never spoken to this guy before. He was standing on the hallway. We just made like casual conversation. He's like, "Oh, like you're coming from work?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I noticed you work graveyards and you're working 1 week on and 1 week off." And I'm like, "Yeah." You know, I got like totally freaked out. But it's so easy for somebody, because I think that guy was like retired. I don't know what his status was. I just know this guy didn't seem to work. He was like always at home, and I don't think he was working from home. I got the feeling like he was retired or disability or something. But it's not that hard for somebody, if you really wanted to study or know your behaviors. And the other thing too that was interesting is when they asked about the relationship of this person of interest, did they know each other? Have they encountered each other? He said he didn't really want to say. So I'm wondering if there was some sort of communication. I wonder if this guy was at that party that they had a couple of weeks ago with neighbors. I don't know. Tip Talks.
De ropa. También se nos preguntó que si se había encontrado una llave adentro del apartamento y que a dónde iba esta llave. Sí encontramos una llave, esa llave fue procesada, nos dimos cuenta que esta llave no abre el apartamento de la víctima y entonces...
He's just talking about the keys. They're reiterating the whole thing. He said that they found the key, they matched it up, they realized it wasn't the victim's key. So I can't believe this guy left the key. Low-key gaming, you live in that apartment? Are you trolling? Are you for real? Email me at iCkEdMeL@gmail.com. What's Low-key saying in the chat? I don't know if he's for real or not. I'm curious if he wants to call. Police ain't doing shit. If they were at my apartment, I would have told them. I don't know. It's 5 illegals in one apartment. We're snitching. He lives in the hallway. Okay, he lives on the hallway to the right of them downstairs. I don't know. He's gonna give us specific details. No. He lives on the hallway to the right of them downstairs. On the hallway to the right of them downstairs. I was kidding about snitching, by the way. I don't know. You want to call in, man, after this thing is over?
Así que vamos a seguir trabajando, vamos a voltear todas las piedras para llegar al fondo de esto y sabiendo que puede haber más de una persona involucrada. Y nuestro propósito es de traer a todas las personas que fueron involucradas y que tuvieron algo que ver con el asesinato de esta joven. Como se dice, no se ha realizado un arresto en este momento, sin embargo, se ha identificado a la persona Juan Carlos García Rodríguez, de 18 años.
He says at work. So I guess email me when you have time later on, and I'll talk to you. I'm curious. Maybe we can verify. Yeah, maybe you can send video proof. We'll do a little verification. Maybe he can prove it. And maybe we'll do a call. I don't know.
En este país. Esa familia vive en Luisiana. Parte de nuestra investigación va a ser contactarlos a ellos también y a ver si podemos dar con él para hacer esa entrevista. No tenemos evidencia de que él haya cometido otro crimen aquí, pero también ha estado aquí poco tiempo.
Yes, they don't have a criminal history of him, but he's also only been there for a very short amount of time.
Paciencia, por favor. Estamos también pidiéndole a todo al público que si tienen información que vengan adelante, como lo dijo Abril, como lo dijo
I mean, if you can't arrest this guy, I mean, if you get him, I guess you can talk to him. But if he's just like, I'm not going to talk or until they get DNA, then he could just, I guess he can kind of walk away, right?
Te dio. Muchas veces nuestra gente emigrante desafortunadamente pueda tener una desconfianza. Nosotros les hemos proveído números de teléfonos donde pueden contactar a detectives que hablan español para que se sientan más cómodos. El detective mata.
Numerous numbers for people to call in to give tips. We're just waiting to see. Pretty crazy though, man. I don't know. So this guy hightailed it. I guess he left. I don't know if he's still in Texas. Is he gonna go back to Louisiana? Apparently, he came from Louisiana, Baton Rouge. Is he gonna go over there? Is he hiding out, living somewhere else? Some other roommates and stuff?
Se pueden dar una recompensa de hasta $5,000. Ahora en este momento, si alguien tiene una pregunta, adelante.
Queríamos saber, que nos decía en español, ¿cuántas personas aproximadamente, si decirnos un número exacto, fueron entrevistadas y cooperaron con la investigación?
Como dijo nuestro jefe de policía, fueron alrededor de como 10 personas con las cuales hablamos. Todas las personas con las que hablamos, incluyendo a esta persona de interés, nos dieron una muestra de ADN y esa muestra de ADN está en el Instituto de Ciencias Forenses.
They've spoken to like 10 people and they've voluntarily got DNA samples.
Una copia de la entrevista aquí enfrente de mí.
¿Tienes más evidencia aparte de una llave?
Sí, hay evidencia digital, hay evidencia de ADN que se está procesando, o sea que sí hay bastante evidencia física, pero esta evidencia es traída aquí, es procesada, después de aquí es mandado al instituto.
Do you have any more evidence than just the key? And he's saying that, yeah, there's digital evidence, there's DNA evidence that needs to be processed.
Cuando ustedes identifican que la llave es la del departamento de él, ¿fue puerta por puerta o ya había causa para creer que podría ser ese departamento?
Con la información que teníamos acerca de este joven y al hablar con las personas que han vivido en ese apartamento y que vivían con él, fuimos a calar la llave allí e inmediatamente nos dimos cuenta que allí funcionaba. Entonces por eso pudimos descartar que fuera de otro apartamento y así sabiendo que las otras dos personas que vienen en el apartamento todavía traían su llave y él no traía la llave porque obviamente no, después de que habló con nosotros se dio la fuga. Eso nos dio razón para ahora estar aquí y presentándolo a él como persona.
Basically, because of the key, and talking with multiple people in that community, and with the key, I mean, he was saying that the key matched up really. He must be really, really close to this the victim's apartment. Like he said, it was almost like instantaneous. And then the fact that the other two roommates had their own keys. This is how they came to the conclusion of him being a person of interest, and the fact that he's gone, I guess.
Nada más para detenerlo a él y a nadie más, y entonces así tuvimos que regresar a la estación a procesar más evidencia.
¿Por qué es considerado una persona de interés y no se le llama un
sospechoso? La diferencia es causa probable. Tenemos que tener cierta evidencia que nos diga que llegue hasta a un límite donde
said,
diga,
why a person of interest, not a suspect? And he said because there's a certain like threshold and certain things that they need to meet to call somebody like a person a suspect. And so I'm guessing because they just have this key and they're still waiting for DNA to process that he hasn't been named a suspect.
Que yo sepa, fueron al apartamento de las personas que estaban cooperando y donde calaron la llave y ya no ahí funcionó y ahí paramos para procesar la llave y comienza la investigación.
Y para las personas que no saben, quizás nos están escuchando, incluso a la madre de María, que dicen que se tarda. ¿Por qué se está tardando tanto esta prueba?
La prueba del ADN se tiene que procesar por el departamento de policía, ¿verdad? Después es paquetada por medio de nuestros detectives de escena del crimen. Es empaquetada y después enviada al Instituto de Ciencias Forensicas.
He's asking, I guess the family saying, or people are saying, why is the DNA process taking so long? And he's just talking about the process that has to go to the police station, it has to go somewhere else in the center or whatever. So the whole process is not instantaneous. I don't know how long they're going to take. Maybe they'll put a rush on it.
Entonces tiene que hacer una comparación. Y entendiendo que el condado de Harris es el cuarto condado más grande del país, y hay muchos crímenes más, tercero o cuarto. Entonces, sabiendo que eso es prioridad, como quiera que sea, estamos hablando de una multitud de casos que existen aún que se están procesando. Entonces se tarda un poquito, pero ellos saben de la urgencia que
So he's
tenemos.
just saying this is not the only case. This is obviously an urgent case, and they know that. But there's other cases and DNA stuff being done and processed.
Okay, that'll conclude the press conference today. We want to thank everybody for being out here. And like I said, the family wishes to have a little bit of privacy at this time. So thank you very much.
So the thing with the crazy shit about this too is that this is from body cam, this image. So this is like when they went and talked to him, I guess. I wonder if they're going to release it. Maybe they won't. I don't know. That'd be interesting to hear that conversation, what that was like, his behavior and demeanor, his body language. This is when they went and talked to him. I think they spoke to him. I think they said they spoke to him on Monday. I thought. So this is a still image from the body cam. Wow. I don't know, man. So I guess it's important just to have his face out there. I don't know if this guy is just going to disappear into varying different communities. You know, I don't know how this stuff works out. Maybe people, not everybody's watching the news. It seems like in some of these communities too, people just kind of help out and look out for each other. Just like he was staying with these, it seemed like random ass roommates that didn't even know him. And this guy, I don't know, you got to wonder if he's done this before. You know, iCkEdMeL, send me a friend request. I'll give you the guy's name. I mean, if you're talking about this guy's name, it's already out there. They made it public. It's Juan Carlos. Let me show it here. Juan Carlos Garcia Rodriguez, 18 years old. I don't know. It's just odd. And I wonder if they'd had any communications before with each other. Was just him targeting a girl? Was there something with the dad that he didn't like? Or was it just like an opportunity type of thing? He could disappear, right? He could disappear into... I don't go to any other state, LA or New York. Yeah, he could just fucking, that could be gone. That is crazy, man. And so a lot of the times these things too are like, you know, what do they say? I thought the statistics were that like it's somebody that you know, or like somebody close, or like a family or a friend or somebody in the neighborhood type of shit. Wow. Yeah, right. Done with this mental health stuff. We can't be excusing all this bullshit. He is not 18, and they've been trying to walk in apartments all the time. It just happened to me 3 weeks ago. Damn, bro. Noah, I heard nothing on Noah. Oh, the guy that helps them. I would think it's probably harder. Sweetness says would it be harder to capture somebody that's illegal? I would think so, maybe because they're not in any kind of system, I guess, right? Or maybe there is some sort of systems, but not like people would normally be that are. So I mean, I don't know. The biggest thing is going to be if that DNA matches in the apartment. So. But yeah, all right, guys, I'm going to head out for now. Thank you so much for joining me. Please hit the like button. I'll keep you guys updated with this story. I'm probably going to take a break for the rest of the day unless there's like a chase or something breaking. I did want to look at that Rachel story. Maybe we'll do that at some point. Brian Kohlberger, I know there's a hearing. I don't know. I'm probably not going to cover it. I'll just see some whatever update comes out. Well, there is something I might want to cover with Brian Kohlberg, but not that. All right. So yeah, I'll head out, man. Thank you guys so much. Bye.